Skillshare is for designers, photographers, marketers, artists, and lifelong learners. Skillshare is for foodies, commuters, risk takers, the young, and the young at heart. It's for strategists, free spirits, purists, the bold, the curious, the characters, the makers, and the breakers. Skillshare is for everyone, an online learning community with thousands of classes to advance your career, improve the world, and pursue the work you love. What will you learn next? It all starts on Skillshare.
As we briefly touched on in the section of parts of speech, pronouns take the place of nouns. And let me explain a little bit about how that's done. So instead of saying your own name when you want to refer to yourself, assuming that your name is Bob, you don't say Bob is hungry, you say I am hungry. If you're referring to your friend Sally, instead of saying Sally every time that you reference her, like Sally got the job Sally had applied for and Sally always wanted, you might say Sally got the job she had applied for and had always wanted. Okay? Instead of uttering the name of every member of your family, such as Susan, Michael, Caitlin, Cameron, Daniel, Scout, Grandma, Leandra, and Jamie, and Michael are going out for dinner, you might say, we are going out for dinner. You see, so in a lot of ways, pronouns are very economical. Now, just a little note, almost all languages have some kind of pronoun. In fact, one might say every language has some kind of pronoun reference, and so you don't actually have to always say the name of the person, place, or thing. You can use a pronoun, though admittedly, not all pronouns are used in these different languages in the same way, and sometimes they are, in a sense, attached to the verbs. Or in some cases, such as Japanese, there are other words that substitute for pronouns, but at any rate, they seem to be somewhat universal. So we need to look at them and how they're used, and the special and the special instances in which they're used in English, and that's what we're going to do in the following lecture. So to recap, the pronouns are those little words that take the place of nouns. And so we see a list of them here, and I don't need to read them all to you, but I, me, my, you, yours, he, she, or it, so words like this. Those are the little words that we mean as pronouns. And we're going to go through this, and we're going to look at how they work. So anyway, so see you in the next slide. One important concept and term that we need to learn as we go forward into our discussion about pronouns is antecedent, the word antecedent. And so we'll see it right here. The antecedent comes from a word that means that which comes before. Okay, so, and very simply speaking, the antecedent is the word that the pronoun refers to. So if I say something like, I talked to John, and he said that he would come to the party, well, the he refers to John. John is the antecedent of he. Okay, and again, we see a little drawing. We have the pronoun with an arrow going to the antecedent. So the antecedent is the word that the pronoun is taking the place of. Okay, so anyway, and we will touch on this as we go forward, and hopefully by the time we're done with these lessons, because we have a couple different lessons on pronouns, this will become more familiar to you. I'm going to very quickly go through a few different examples of sentences and pronoun usage, and just point out to you what the pronoun antecedent relationship is. And as you see, I'm also using a word such as referent. That is the reference, the word that the pronoun references. Okay, so anyway, so please don't get confused by the multiple usage there. But anyway, in the sentence above, up above, okay, hanging over my head, We have the sentence, I heard the dog bark before it bit me. So you see that the it refers to the dog. So it is the pronoun, dog is the antecedent. Okay, so, and we'll have a couple others as we go forward. And these would be very quick little slides here. In this example, we have the sentence, Fred told me that he was going to graduate early. So anyway, so he, of course, is the pronoun, and Fred would be the antecedent or the referent, the word or the noun that the pronoun refers to. So one of the things that you'll notice is the pronoun takes the place of a noun, and it always refers to a noun, unless maybe sometimes it refers to another pronoun. But it always refers to a person, place, or thing. All right, so anyway, so Fred told me that he was going to graduate early. He is the pronoun. Fred is the antecedent. In this example, I heard Sally sing. She has a lovely voice, you see. So she is the pronoun, and she, of course, is referring to Sally, which is the noun. So anyway, and in this case, a proper noun. So we have, again, we have the pronoun antecedent relationship. Now, one of the things that you'll notice as we go through, and I'm drawing little arrows, we have little arrows running between the pronoun and the antecedent. Now, as a general rule, you should be able to draw a relatively short arrow from your pronoun to your antecedent, to the noun that it refers to. And one of the reasons that you do this is to eliminate any confusion as to what or who the pronoun is referring to. And we'll talk about this as we go forward, but you can hold in your mind kind of the mental image of the arrows running from the pronoun to the noun that it refers to. Okay, so this is the last example of this sort. Now notice that we have one antecedent here and two pronouns that refer to that antecedent. So Mary said she paid the gardener to landscape her yard. Okay, got that? Mary said she paid the gardener to landscape her yard. So she refers to Mary, and her, as in her yard, also refers to Mary. So they both refer to Mary. And so both pronouns have the same antecedent. Now, most of the time, the antecedent comes first, that's which comes before, and the pronoun comes second. Sometimes in usage, however, we switch that. So we might have a sentence such as we see up above. His critics need to notice that the president has now done what they want. Okay, so his critics, his refers to president. And so we have the pronoun which refers to the president which follows. Okay, so sometimes we have sentences like this. We have a couple other examples here. Whatever its merits, the tax proposal would have a disastrous effect on Wall Street. So whatever its merits, it's referring to the tax proposal. And one more, when it is ready, I'd like a piece of cake. So it referring to the piece of cake when the cake is ready. Okay, so anyway, so but again, these are one way that we're able to actually position the pronoun before the noun that it references. But for the most part, the antecedent comes first, as its name implies, and the pronoun comes second. In the next few slides, I'm going to talk about the ways that we categorize pronouns, and there's two ways. One is by what we call person. That's first person, second person, third person, and I'll explain what that is. And the other is by case, which is the category. That is how it's used in the sentence. So I hope that by the end of this presentation, you'll have a clear idea of what we mean by these categories, because they are, in fact, very important in how we use the pronouns and whether we use them correctly or not. The first way that we categorize pronouns is by what we call person. Okay, so I and we are first person, singular and plural. I being singular because there's only one I, and we, there's a multitude of us, so that's plural. Okay, so I and we. Second person is you. Now, in English, we do not make a distinction between the singular you and the plural you, at least in formal standard English, though very often in regional dialects, in regional varieties of English, sometimes you will see attempts to mark the plural form. So, for instance, in the American South, you'll see something like y'all. Y'all come back here. Okay. Or in the Northeast, sometimes you hear yous or use, guys. Certainly in the West Coast, where I live in California, very often you guys is used as the plural form. And guys not meaning to mark gender, not just males. It's you hear girls and women saying, "Hey, you guys," anyway. But you is in formal English, both the singular and the plural. And then third person, he, she, or it, and they. Now, there's a mnemonic device that I post right here, maybe help you remember it. I am the first most important person. I am first. That's first person, right? You are the second most important person. You, so I'm talking to you. So let me assure you, you're the second most important person. And then he over there, he's not listening to us. He's not in our crowd. He's the third most important person. So maybe that'll help you remember it. I hope you're not as narcissistic as that, but certainly it might be a little device to help you remember how the persons break down in the pronoun usage. Pronouns have cases, or a pronoun would have a case. And this term case refers to, in essence, how the pronoun is being used in the sentence. So in the example that we see here, he heard the dog bark before it bit him on his leg. Now note that the he, him, his are all referring to the same person. Okay, so in essence, they're really the same word. They just change according to how we use them in the sentence. So he would be the subjective pronoun, is being used as the subject. The objective pronoun him is being used again as the object. It's receiving the action, that is the bite from the dog. And the his is the possessive pronoun. It's indicating the possession of the leg. It was his leg that was bitten. So this is what we mean by case. So the pronoun changes according to how it's being used in the sentence. And in the next slide, I'm going to very quickly touch on the different cases that are possible with English pronouns. Here we see the pronoun cases and the division of the pronouns into those cases and in their different forms. So I, me, my, you, your. Okay, your would be the possessive. Okay, and so on and so forth. And I don't think I need to read them all for you, but take a look at them. And again, in the text, you'll have the complete list, and you can go through it and study it and memorize the cases. But the most important point here is that there is an appropriate case for each usage of a pronoun in a sentence, depending on what role the person, place, or thing that's being referenced by the pronoun plays in the sentence, whether it's the subject of the verb, whether it's the object or the direct object or the indirect object of the verb, or whether it's being used in the possessive. One other form of the pronoun that we should look at is what's called the reflexive pronoun. This is the use of the pronoun as an object of the verb, which is referring to a previously named noun or pronoun, such as Fred bought a birthday present for himself. You see, so himself refers back to Fred. Funny little quote from Mark Twain. Suppose you were an idiot and suppose you were a member of Congress, but I repeat myself. Okay, so the myself is referring back to I. So in the same sentence, you have this kind of reflection. Okay, so think of it as a reflection. So very special usage for this pronoun. This pronoun is not to be used as the subject of a sentence, as in himself went to work yesterday. No, you would not use it in that sense. And neither would you use it if it were a standalone object, like Fred bought a birthday present for myself. No, that wouldn't work. I bought a birthday present for myself, but Fred bought a birthday present for me, or Fred bought a birthday present for himself. Anyway, so that's the reflexive pronoun. So that's our little preview on the pronoun. Now we're going to go forward and take a look at the ways that we should use pronouns, and very importantly, the ways that we must not use them. Okay, but that's in the next lecture. We'll take a little break now, and then we'll go forward.